Mr.Falcon!
It's been a while, but finally it is time for me to talk about more dark and underground tokusatsu movies. In the first video, I got a lot of comments mentioning Mechanical Violator Hakaider, a great movie that I actually previously made a video on, which is why it wasn't in the first. But seeing as how I love that movie, and since my original video, it's gotten a sweet new release from Media Blasters, as well as even streaming for free on Tubi, I might as well talk about it again in this video to start things off. While yes, this movie stars the iconic rival to Android Hakaider, you don't have to worry if you've never seen any Hakaider, as this movie is its own thing, though I still highly recommend Android Hakaider. The Hakaider movie takes place in a far-off bleak future in a place known as Jesus Town. A group of rebels fight off the forces of Gurjev, their iron-fisted ruler, aided by his mechanical servant Michael. However, hope for the rebels emerge in the form of Hakaider, a deadly android who after many years of slumber is ready to kick some ass again as he rediscovers himself, by blasting his way through everything, and I do mean everything. Hakaider's gun in this movie is just way too overpowered. This movie is everything I'm looking for in a dark, underground toku movie, featuring plenty of great designs and bloody action, and honestly, may just be the coolest movie ever made. Possibly tied with the last movie we'll be talking about on this video. The Hakaider movie is a lean action thrill ride from start to finish, packed with chases, shootouts, and a whole load of amazing toku destruction. On top of that, this movie just oozes style. It has the director Keita Amemiya's now iconic gothic style, mixed with post-apocalyptic cyberpunk, making for a badass fusion of visuals that have been ingrained into my mind since watching this movie for the first time. Not only does this movie look badass, it could get pretty surreal at times, as we have plenty of scenes where Hakaider is envisioned as a dark knight in this wasteland of a world, which are fantastic and feeling like a strange dream. Adding to that dreamlike feeling to the movie is that a lot of scenes here feature white feathers flying around in place of blood, which makes for a lot of amazing shots, and it's just a plain awesome stylistic choice. The costumes and suits here look great. Hakaider has never looked more menacing, though I do wish they kept the visible brain in the helmet like most Hakaider suits have. Michael also has an amazing suit, a nice contrast to Hakaider, feeling angelic with some sinister undertones, and bears a resemblance to Bioman's Biohunter Silva, whose design was actually inspired by Hakaider, which adds to an extra layer of cool to the final battle between Hakaider and Michael. Which is the best part of the movie, a fight that I consider to be one of the coolest toku fights ever. I've seen a lot of people online say the final fight is slow and drags on, but those people are wrong, and more importantly, weak. The final battle, while not the flashiest to come out of toku, is one of the most unique, featuring almost no dialogue, really selling this fight to be between two killer androids calculating their next move to dismantle the other, and it kicks ass. Further complementing the fight is the location of the battle, as it gets battered just as much as the two androids throughout. Inside these pristine white walls are blood red wires, making the location seem more hellish as the fight continues, which again, I can't emphasize enough, is the coolest thing ever. And as if it couldn't get any better, there's also an awesome stop motion sequence here. Seriously, if you haven't seen this movie yet, please do, you'll thank me later. The movie isn't even that long, being 55 minutes with the theatrical cut and 77 minutes with the director's cut. The director's cut is what's most available out there, adding a bit more blood and some scenes that help a bit more with the flow of the movie. I honestly wish we got a sequel to this movie, as it's just so damn cool. It technically exists as a Sega Saturn game, but I haven't seen much of it outside the save menu music, which is literally just people screaming. That's a very interesting choice there. Anyways, up next we have another movie from Keita Amemiya, being Moon Over Tao, Makaraga, a movie I only found out existed through stumbling onto it on YouTube one day, which is also where I got the footage from. Sorry for the quality. The story here follows a retired warrior, a samurai, and a young beekeeper on a quest to stop an evil lord who has recently forged invincible weapons made of a material of mysterious origins. But as it turns out, those origins were being part of a shell that contained an alien bioweapon known as the Makaraga, which now our unlikely trio must stop. Moon Over Tao is a simple but fun movie. The story is straight to the point and getting to the adventure. The action, while not too memorable, is still fun and varied, as we have everything from samurai duels, alien ninja battles, magic fights, and of course a battle of survival against a killer monster. Some elements of the movie seem like a bit of a precursor to the Garo series, with the magic fights bearing resemblance to the Makai priests. Some of the costume designs and even the main monster here all feel like they could have appeared in a Garo episode. Speaking of, the Makaraga doesn't appear until much later in the movie, and while it does have a fun introduction and provide plenty of bloody deaths, it's not my favorite monster, especially from a Keita Amamiya movie. It just looks like a fleshy demon quadrupod. While it might not be the most impressive Amamiya movie, Moon Over Tao is still a fun watch I would recommend if you're in the mood for samurais and monsters. Now, for the remaining 3 movies in this video, we'll be taking a look at movies not made in Japan but still carry on the dark underground tokusatsu spirit. The first 2 of which being well known among cult movie fans, being the Guyver movies. If you don't know about Guyver, it's an awesome tokusatsu inspired manga series by Yoshiki Takaya, following a young teen boy becoming attached to a mysterious biomechanical device that turns him into the Guyver, a badass super warrior that fights the evil Kronos organization and their monsters that live among humans, known as the Zoonoids. Guyver has received a few OVAs and anime series, and in the 90s 2 live-action American movies. While public opinion on live-action adaptations of anime and manga have been negative even more so in recent years, the 2 Guyver movies might just be some of the better ones. It's a low bar to overcome for sure, but these movies are both fun toku-styled action flicks. The first movie follows Sean Barker, a martial arts student who one day comes across and fuses with the Guyver unit, getting tangled up with the Kronos organization and their Zoonoid monsters, who also seem to be connected to the death of his girlfriend's father. While maybe a bit cheesy in its humor, this movie is an all-around good time. Its fast pace provides some of the horror and tension of the manga and OVAs that does get tarnished a bit from the Zoonoids having a more comedic role here, almost making it feel more like Power Rangers, which this movie technically predates by a few years. Of course, with a movie featuring rubber suit monsters and heroes, there's gotta be action. While not as refined as the sequel's fight scenes, this movie still has some satisfying hits and all the stylish backflips you could want in a Toku movie. But the true star of this movie are the special effects. The Zoonoids look incredible, all nicely detailed and varied, and we get to see a good amount of them too throughout the movie, with one of them even being a giant dragon, which is beyond sweet. The Guyver suit is awesome, striking a balance of horrifying and heroic, and all the transformations look fantastic. Though I do wish the head spike / fin thing on the helmet was a bit more prominent, as in some scenes it kind of just lays on the head, which was a bit distracting to me as someone who is a big fan of the Guyver design way before watching the movie. There is also a good dosage of body horror in here, with seeing people being forced into turning into Zoonoids, and a scene where Guyver just bursts through a Zoonoid's stomach, which was pretty hardcore for a PG-13 movie. I had a lot of fun with this movie, which is why I'm kinda sad to see it viewed pretty negatively online. Over time, it's gotten a bit more positive reviews with a cult following, but I still see a lot of people kinda trash it for being cheesy, filled with bad acting, and not living up to the bloodshed of the original Guyver series. And while some of those points are valid to an extent, I think if you just have fun watching this movie as you would with any Toku series, you'll be in for a very good time. However, Guyver 2 Dark Hero seems to be received better, switching lead actors this time, starring David Hayter as Sean, and really just kicking out a majority of the cast from the first movie for new characters. Dark Hero lives up to the name, as this time we have a rated R movie, allowing for more bloody action. Starting off this movie, we see Guyver having seemingly finished off the Kronos organization and is now focused on taking out criminals in LA. However, the Guyver unit craves violence, which is putting a struggle on Sean, causing him to break up with his girlfriend. Though the way it's executed here just makes her look very insensitive, like just not very understanding to the guy who's been fused to an alien biomechanical superweapon. But Sean moves on rather quickly and finds a new love interest, this time being an archaeologist at a cave site that seems to have strange alien artifacts, which Sean is drawn to, as now more than ever he's desperate to learn more about the Guyver and the Zoonoids. Though it seems like a few Zoonoids are also interested in the cave site as well. While I was kind of excited to see Guyver fighting crime and struggling with the bloodlust of the Guyver unit, as presented at the start of the movie, that's pushed aside really early in order to focus more on the cave site, which is where a majority of the movie takes place, and to be honest, it's kinda boring, as we see Sean explore camp in the caves as he learns more about Guyver lore. Now don't get me wrong, the movie's not a total snooze fest, just in my opinion after watching the two back to back, this one seems to lack the momentum of the first. However, when the action starts, it definitely is an upgrade, with better fight choreography, especially during the final fight against the Guyver Zoonoid. Special effects wise, the Guyver suit looks even better than the last movie, looking more accurate to the original. And my minor nitpick regarding the head spike not sticking out as much is fixed here. While we still get a good amount of Zoonoids here, and their suits are nicely done, to me they just don't feel as unique when compared to the ones featured in the first movie. The Zoonoids here also seem to have a tendency to make these roars that sound like a bunch of animals mixed together, and it does get grating at times. I guess my real hot take here is that I prefer the first movie over the second. Sure, the second has better fight scenes, Guyver suit, and features gorier violence, but story-wise it can be a bit slow. Whereas I felt the first one had more momentum and stuff going on with the plot, with Sean coming across the Guyver, murder investigations, and the Zoonoid group plotting to extract the Guyver from Sean. Sure, the Zoonoids in that movie were portrayed more comedically, but they still could be scary, and we saw so many cool looking ones throughout the movie, which I can't say the same for the ones in Dark Hero. Mind you, I don't think they're bad, they're all still amazing displays of practical effects, but they just don't feel quite as weird or freaky as the ones from the first. I know a lot of people like Dark Hero more because of the gore factor, which is cool and I definitely do appreciate, but I don't think Dark Hero delivered quite as much on the body horror aspect when compared to the first, which I feel is just as important, if not a little more to Guyver, than the violence. Overall though, both of these movies are fun to kick back and enjoy, with some spectacular special effects, though in terms of rewatching, I would definitely rewatch the first movie, and the second one I would probably just stick to the fight scenes. Anyways, we have one final movie left on this video, which may be my favorite of the whole bunch, being Psycho Goreman, a Canadian dark comedy horror sci-fi movie with loads of Tokusatsu influence. That was my favorite movie that I watched last year, and possibly just is now one of my favorite movies in general. Psycho Goreman follows two siblings, Mimi, a hyperactive and rebellious girl, and her older brother Luke, who's just kinda there, as they one day discover a strange gem that leads them to an alien. However, this ain't no E.T. or Mac and Me. This is the Archduke of Nightmares, a powerful demon-like being infamous around the galaxy, who is quickly nicknamed Psycho Goreman, PG for short, by Mimi. Turns out the gem the siblings found is the source of PG's monstrous power and allows them to control the alien. So now in control of a superpowered alien demon death god, they sort of just hang out and play with him against his will, allowing Psycho Goreman to discover himself a bit.
I do not care for hunky boys.
However, with his presence being detected by his enemies, the Templars, a superpower religious order from his world, loads of alien chaos starts making its way towards Earth. Again, I love this movie. It's what you'd get if you fused a 90s family comedy of a group of kids finding some strange creature and fused that with a horror movie with a little superhero sprinkling. And I'm all for it. When I first came across the trailer for this movie on YouTube, what caught my eye well, besides the title, because come on, Psycho Goreman is an amazing title for a movie, was the special effects. Because, oh my god, this movie has everything a special effects hound like myself wants in a movie. Amazing suits, animatronics, and hell, we even got some stop motion here in this movie to display all the wild alien monsters and body horror mutants this movie features. And trust me, it does feature quite a lot of them. And it is glorious. Seriously, why can't all movies be this fucking cool? While scrolling online and looking at the reception of this movie, while it was loved by people like myself, some people did have problems with the comedy, tonal shifts, and characters. Now, comedy is obviously very subjective, but personally I found this movie hilarious at times, with a good mixture of different types. We have that goofy humor of a 90s sitcom with the kids, sort of awkward humor with their parents, as they seem even before meeting an alien supervillain are just trying their best to keep it together, paired with loads and loads of dark comedy with PG just not giving a fuck, doing all sorts of overkill on his enemies and random passerbyers, or just turning them into godforsaken monstrosities. Which again, shout out to the special effects here. And the shifts between all this throughout the movie just kinda add more to the humor for me personally. The one complaint online that I could kind of understand is for the characters. Or more so character, as a lot of people didn't like the main character Mimi. She has that I'm the best and everyone else sucks type attitude, and she never really changes throughout the movie. So, understandably, a lot of people just found her to be annoying. Personally, it didn't bother me too much, and for what this movie is, I think just works. Personally, my only real complaint with this movie is that the action could have been better. It's stiff, though it does improve towards the end with one of the most badass scenes in the movie, where PG just starts ripping chunks out of his opponent in order to make a sword of alien flesh, which is metal as hell. But considering all the special effects on display here, and the fact that this wasn't really ever an action-oriented movie to begin with, it's a very minor complaint on my end. This is a movie I cannot recommend enough, and in this movie we get such a good dose of Psycho Goreman's past and the universe of this movie that I honestly want more, whether it be a sequel, comic book, or hell, just even merch. I would kill for a proper Psycho Goreman figure. Also, a fun little bonus, Tatsuki Fujimoto of Chainsaw Man fame also saw Psycho Goreman and enjoyed it, and made some sweet fan art of it. And your favorite mangaka making fan art for your new favorite movie? That's just that good shit right there. And with that, I have finally done another one of these videos, and I look forward to making more. Hopefully the wait for the next one won't be as long as this one. And in the comment section down below, feel free to recommend some other Dark Underground Toku movies to cover in the future. As for my next video planned, we're going to be talking about some fun mutant and kaiju manga. Anyways, good to be back once again. Stay safe and peace out.